10 minutes. Ew. How's everyone doing over there? Everybody got a fresh beer? Yeah, ready to rock into the night? Awesome. So thanks everybody who came up already with your donations and those that purchased raffle tickets. We're already slanging some hats, so that's really good to see. And all of that goes to support this awesome community-based event. So wicked to see that. Thank you all, and we're just going to roll right into it. This is the first State of the Snowpack, Nelson, BC, for the 24-25 season. Let's hear some stoke. Woo! Come on! How many of you were here last year for the first one? Yeah. How does the energy compare to last year? Does anybody remember what happened on this day last year? That's a repressed memory. Yeah, we try to forget about that one. Awesome. So we're just going to roll right into the night, everybody. My name's Kyle. I'm going to be hosting, and I'll be introducing some of the presenters and things there. And stoked to see everybody out supporting such an awesome local community event. So first things first is a land acknowledgement, and this is really important. We would like to acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Sinixt, Syilx, and Ktunaxa people. Obviously, we feel very privileged and honored to get to spend our time here and get to respect the land here in this area. And a land acknowledgement is obviously nothing but the first step, so we're just here saying that. But what's important is that when you go forward and you're recreating in these beautiful lands, is that you respect them and you're a steward of the land. So this amazing backcountry community is full of great, awesome people. And just when we move through the backcountry, we do that with respect, and we try to honor the history and the ancestry of this place. That is incredible. So thanks for listening, everybody. And then a little disclaimer, the information we present tonight is our own observations to the best of our ability. The presentation doesn't replace actual avalanche training, so that's whether that's recreational courses, AST 1 and 2, or CAA courses at the professional level. You want to pursue knowledge always. It's a lifelong learning experience in the avalanche patch, so don't take this for granted. And then what you do with the information that we present is your responsibility, so use it responsibly out there. Now, what is State of the Snowpack? Who knows what State of the Snowpack is? It's a trick question. It's a community conversation saving lives in the backcountry, so that's the idea. This is a community initiative, and it's based right here in Nelson for this chapter, and there's a couple other chapters as well, but what it's all about is bringing relevant community information forward and kind of bolstering what the Avalanche Canada forecast gives us. So, the State of the Snowpack mission is to decrease backcountry avalanche incidents, casualties, and rescues through the sharing of detailed community-specific snowpack information. So we live in an area that is plentiful for information. There's lots of guiding operations, ski resorts, forecasting, all that sort of stuff. And what we're trying to do is bring lots of that professional information forward so that everybody can get a little bit of a deeper understanding of what's going on out there. Sorry. And we're trying to bridge the gap between Avalanche Canada's regional avalanche forecasts and local knowledge shared in the InfoX, which is a guiding platform and an industry platform for sharing information. And basically try to give you as local as it gets information to put you on the right track and give you some bonus stats there and let you be really dialed in with what's going on with the snowpack. And then finally, it's to share information gathered from our local guiding and forecasting communities, allowing you to make the most informed decisions with the end goal of making it home safe every night. What do you guys think about that? Pretty good? Awesome. That's what we want to see, right? We want everybody making it home, everybody having a blast out there, and hopefully everybody making it to the Royal for a couple beers after a good day out there. Yeah, exactly. So, new website this year. There's been a heck of a lot of work that went into that, so highly recommend you go check it out. That's where you're going to find the updates blog. It also has links to the longer format videos, so Instagram has a limit now, but there's often going to be like longer format videos about the current state of the snowpack, and you can find those there on the website. Event schedules, how to get involved, and all that good stuff. So you hop on the website there, you'll find out there's 4 more awesome State of the Snowpack events this year, 1 more this month. We're going to talk about that more later. But these events are awesome. It brings the community together and kind of gets everybody on the same page. So stoked to have everybody out here. Thanks for coming out. State of the Snowpack is Morgan Dinsdale's vision. So Morgan, unfortunately, isn't here with us in Nelson right now. I think she's in Whistler this year again, working and guiding. But this was her vision and her passion, and she brought a lot of energy to this. Lucky enough to be a part of this along with everybody else here, and really appreciate what everybody's done. Had some great chats last year with Morgan, and she's just a really, really passionate individual who really brings the stoke and really cares that everybody gets home safe out there. So this is an awesome initiative, and it's come a long way since the beginning, but big thank you to Morgan for putting this together. Come on, give it up. She's the legend behind the vision here. And then this is our Nelson area event and contributor team. So you're gonna see some of these faces tonight. Some of these faces you might never see, but you can rest assured they're working really hard. Probably the faces you don't see ever are the ones that are working way harder than everybody else to make this event come to you. Give it up for Kath, come on. Woo! But seriously, there's a lot of people involved who are just straight up donating their time to try and create a safer backcountry community here in Nelson. So that's awesome to see, and I got a lot of respect for everybody involved in this project. These are some of our sponsors here, so thank you first to our sponsors, Hub International, we've got Burton, Mountain Med Consulting, and the Savoy Hotel, along with many others. And then these are some of our partners here, so give it up for Kootenay Backcountry Guides, Whitewater Ski Resort, The Royal, and She Shreds Mountain Adventures. And then just keep in mind, we're lucky to have many other awesome sponsors out there, so some of these raffle prizes that were donated from Northern Ultralight, Jarek's, Snowpack Outdoors, all those local community businesses coming together to support this event. So we're really lucky to live in a community where everybody supports each other like that. And just remember to support local, because that's what keeps these things going. If you want to get involved, here's a few options. You know, you can donate. A few people brought up their donation proof to get a sweet hat or a sweet toque earlier. If you want to be involved as a sponsor, there's a QR code there. And then as well, we're always looking for contributors. So if you have some professional avalanche background and you're comfortable standing in front of a camera and chatting about the snowpack, follow that QR code there and reach out. And you can find all this information on the website. But the more people contributing, the more people sponsoring, and the more people involved, the better. And it just kind of bolsters this community. So we'll try to keep that going, and you can find all that intel on the website there. One more last shameless plug for the raffle. We're going to be doing the raffle at the very end of the night. So you got to stick around to win the prizes from tonight's raffle. If you're going for the big grand prize, big Dreamline backpack in a couple nights at White Grizzly, you don't have to be there for that or be here for that, but you do have to enter for every single event. So you can do that online. But if you haven't bought your raffle tickets yet, you're going to want to buy them at the link right there. And again, all those awesome prizes are right here. We'll go over that in the intermission again as well. So, on to the meat of things, ladies and gentlemen. This evening's topics. We got some really good talks tonight. We got two different presenters, and they're going to talk about a couple things. Obviously, first things first is the snowpack update. So that's the state of the snowpack. What's going on out there? What's happening? Judson's going to tell us all about that. So the current state of the snowpack, the 23-24 season recap. It's bleak. It was not that good. Early season ethics at Whitewater, so we're going to talk more about that, but we're very lucky in this community to have the option to go ski touring in the early season. We got to respect some of the ethics around that. Spatial variability and the pitfalls of profiles. Seasonal history with notable storms and layers for this year. Profiles and tests also from this year. Some avalanche activity, and the Avalanche Canada report and MIN report. So that's going to be our first presentation. Then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get into part two. Big deal. Part two, changes to Whitewater Ski Resort area boundaries and backcountry access for the goat slides. So this is kind of a big deal. This is crazy. This is a wild new thing, and Dave's going to do his best to really tune us in on what's going on there. So these are your evening's presenters. First off, we're going to have Judson Wright. Judson Wright is the lead ACMG ski guide for Kootenay Backcountry Guides. He's a CAA professional member, and he's the operations manager at White Grizzly. He's going to be talking about the snowpack. And then we're going to have Dave Michael come up, and he's part of the outdoor operations team there at Whitewater. He's the outdoor operations manager, and he's going to be talking all about goat slide. So that's kind of the thing. And I think that's it, pretty much giving it up to Judson here. Thanks, everybody.
Hello. How's it going? Yeah, sweet. Thanks for coming, everyone. You know what's weirder? What's weirder than actually giving talks about the snowpack is actually showing up and listening to someone talk about the snow. So you all are weirder than I am. Okay, just so we're clear here. I'm curious just about the makeup of the crowd. How many people? This is your first State of the Snowpack? Hands up. Wow, awesome. Okay, how many people have been here more than twice? Okay, how many people have been here since we were over in Backroads? Wow, awesome, cool, spanning everything. That's great. It's amazing to see the turnout and everything here. I'm also curious about who's had the most amount of days skiing so far. So I'm sitting here. I've had 10 days of ski touring now. So can anybody beat me on that one? 18. Woo. 18. Can anyone beat 18? Do I hear a 19? 20. Going once. Going twice. Gone. We got an 18er here. That's awesome. We'll give that guy a hat. Come on up here. We'll give you a hat. Right on. So let's get into it. What is the current state of the snowpack? It's November Powder Bender. That's what's going on out there. We had a bender happening. And then this is basically what it was like. The Nelson skiers and riders partying out there, and everyone who's not a skier and rider just like, I hate you people. I hate this. I hate the snow. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And yeah. Yeah, right on. So yeah, some of this was going on in November. It has been a long time since I remember a November that was this good. That this is what we were out there doing. Definitely not me on the snowmobile. Definitely not. But yeah, I mean, for myself, like, it's been a while since we've had a start like this, right? Like, I don't know, I got a bunch of people in the crowd who've been here for a long time. It's like, can we remember, anybody out here remember November quite as good as this? Like, I have to go back quite a ways in my brain to like go, 2003, wish he's throwing out. So 20 years ago, nice one. There we go. Sweet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of our December events that we've been doing since 2019. So this is what I've basically been up here delivering. I'm stoked to be here tonight because normally I'm giving like a funeral for what's happened out there. And people are stunned. And last year, I think that I actually made a guy cry in the back. But it's been tough early years. You know, we've dealt with rain events, deep persistent crusts, lack of coverage, and massive alders, right? Like, so that's kind of been what's going on. And we are very, very lucky to have had this start that we've had here. And I think that I found a little bit of a correlation. Like, usually we do the State of the Snowpacks later in the year, and this year we've done it early. So the early year is what's brought on the snow. So it was us who made it snow this much, right? Right on. We'll take full credit for that, right? So I do want to talk a little bit just about ethics of what's going on at Whitewater. I did not run this by Dave. So this is I tried to, but yeah, he was a little bit busy. We're both dads, and we got a lot going on. So I just hope I don't sewer myself here in his eyes. I love you, Dave. Early seasons touring at Whitewater's been happening since I moved here. I moved here in the year 2000. It's something that this community does, and I don't ever want us to take that for granted, right? I don't ever want us to like just think this is something that we just have, you know. It is something that we view as a privilege here. It's not a right. And so when we go out there, right, we want to respect everything, and we want to give our thanks to the team at Whitewater. Right? But along with that, we got to treat the place right, you know, like we got to make it easy on them when we're up there. We've got to listen to them. We got to pay attention to the signage. A few bad apples could cause us to lose this scene, and we don't want to have that happen, right? We want to keep it chill out there and pick up after your dogs, for God's sakes. When you're bringing your dogs out, we love dogs. Pick up after them, please, and pay attention to the parking. Like, we don't want to be putting out social media posts like from YRV saying, hey, like you guys were blocking access for us to keep that road open. They're trying to keep the road open for us, and people are parking in a place where they can't work. And it's just like, don't do that. It's just powder, right? Like, do not do that to them. And when Dave comes up to talk to you about it, show him respect, because this is what they're doing. They're keeping this going for us, right? And part of that deal is to, look after it, right? Right on. Be chill, right? Be chill. Powder makes everyone chill, right? That's what it's like, right? It's like totally chill. Okay, some thoughts. I promised some people I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to bring it up. 23-24. Here we go. Wow, there's a sad panda. That was me for a bunch of the year last year, at least at the beginning of it, you know. It was a challenging year for everyone to one degree or another out there in the backcountry for various reasons, right? We saw unprecedented weather events happen last year. At this time last year, Whitewater got, 140 mils in 3 days? Is that what it was, boys? 140 mils in 2 days. Never before seen that, ever. There was water running down the mountains. You couldn't go skiing some places because the creeks had opened up so much. It was absolutely wild. We had extreme heat to extreme cold. So it went from being super hot to like minus 38, and then it was followed by massive avalanche cycles. So like last year I was delivering them and I was like, not only is the skiing shit, but it's also super dangerous. And I was just like, come on. Like, can we not have a year where it's just not a big, deep, persistent crust going on in the snowpack? Is that like a thing we can have? But anyway, that's kind of where it went. And a lot of people got like pretty sour on it. I saw a lot of glacial recession. I spent a bunch of time on the glaciers in the spring, and for me, it's not just like the skiing is one thing. It was actually just seeing ground impact of like climate change is what threw me into a different state out there. But in the end, like, so everyone is getting affected by this on some different level, right? I just want everyone to remember, it's only skiing and snowboarding, right? Like that's all it is that we're doing out there. We're just going skiing and snowboarding. Right? That isn't the most important thing in the world. Powder is the ultimate champagne problem. You got a lack of POW, that's a champagne problem, right? That's not real, okay? There are real people who are really affected by climate change out there, right? We are the privileged few to think about climate change taking away our powder, right? It's not about that, right? That is something that happens, but it's not the most important thing, right? I ended up having a really great season after February 10th. Before it, I've blocked that out in my brain, okay? So we're laying it to rest now. It's out. The funeral is on. It's over. We're talking about it. We're getting it off our chest. I ended up having a great second half to the season. It was amazing. Don't ever take it for granted. Don't ever take getting out there in the backcountry, going skiing, doing this for granted. That is what last year taught me. We got to just, take every day, right? Poor seasons make you better. Use those to further your skills and discover new zones and weight, right? Those type of things will make you better while you're out there. And you can't know what great conditions are unless you ski shitty conditions. That's why I dedicate every day to skiing one crust run every day. I just pick it out so I can just remind my friends of what it could be like, right? That's how you do that, okay? It's the ultimate long game, backcountry skiing, right? It rewards those who go out when you think it might not be good. It rewards the people who are in there day in, day out. That is what it is there for. That is how you get the magic happening. You don't get it by sitting on the couch and waiting for it to get perfect and just surfing the webcams, right? You find it where it is, and you meet it where it is, and that's how you get good, and that's how when it pows, it's on, and you're fit, and you're ready to go. Kyle, water, please. Thank you, sir. Spatial variability and the pitfalls of snow profiles. So what is spatial variability? I know I have some people who are way more experienced than me in the crowd, and maybe some people less who know. So what is spatial variability? Going once, going twice. All right, spatial variability just means the difference in the snowpack over a given terrain, right? The snowpack is not the same in one place versus the next. It's not the same in one valley versus the next, one mountain range versus the next, one slope versus the next, and sometimes it's different on the same slope you're on. You could dig a pit in one place and the snowpack is different literally 10 feet away from you. I've seen that quite often out there, right? So second of all, what is snow science? Snow science is done in a lab. We are not snow scientists, right? That is not what we are. To do actual snow science, you would have to actually put measurements out there and do controlled studies and whatnot. We don't do that, right? We cannot do that, so we can't be so certain about what were our conclusions that we're coming to as backcountry skiers, right? So the pitfalls of a profile has to do with spatial variability, because you can only dig so many snow profiles, right? And you could dig a profile and it could tell you one thing, and you go to ski the slope and it's completely different. So you could be misled by what's going on in your profile, right? So the fallacy of extrapolation of information and robust data versus non-robust. So robust means there's all kinds of information, it's all getting correlated, whereas non-robust data is exactly the opposite of that, not having enough. And so when you think about the bulletin right now and what's going on, we don't have a lot of data, right? There aren't a lot of data coming in, and so it's harder to come up to conclusions with it. And overall, even when everything's busy and everyone's out there, you know, I'll look on the InfoX and I'll be like, oh, there was like 25 snow profiles dug in the entire Selkirks in one day. I'm like, that's not very much information. Think about how much terrain is out there. There's only 25 profiles, and then we're going and making these decisions based on that. So I just don't want anyone to get it into their head that it's all about the profiles, right? My thing is that it's the terrain. So the terrain, everyone's snow science is this sexy thing, and the profiles and terrain just sitting there like cool and chill and not getting all the attention, right? But that is your friend all the time, right? Is terrain. So what we're not trying to do when we dig is cheat the problem. There is no cheat code going on out there, right? The avalanche doesn't care about your experience, doesn't care about how good of a skier you are or how many times you dug, doesn't care, right? Okay. You're fooling yourself, right? So seasonal history. So hopefully everybody can see this one. Those in the back and side, I'm sorry. This is a really cool chart. This is the snow water equivalency chart that is in Redfish Creek. It is the one I pay most attention to out there, because that tells me how much snow and how much water content is there. We are the blue line in the middle there. So that is us. And the 25-year average is this red. And so at a certain point, we were at our like max of historical average there, which was awesome, right? So that is great. And it's fallen off a little bit. This green line is last year. So look at that. Yeah. And you know what's even, you know what's sad about this too is that this is rain. So this build up here, that's that rain event that happened, right? So the snow, that water equivalency actually captures water in the snowpack. It's not just snow, it's actually the water content. So when it rains, that's actually going to go up, right? So what that shows me a little bit about is like just how solid the snowpack is, right? There's a ton of water content in that snow, and so that snowpack is quite solid due to how much water is in it. Okay, so notable storms and layers formation throughout the year. So in October, we saw limited snowfall, but some people were already skiing ruining their boards and skis. I actually talked to a friend who, before Halloween, skied Prospector Bowl and Halloween shoot. And I'm not joking, there was 20 centimeters on the ground. I was like, you skied that? He was like, yep. And he showed me the photo, and I was like, oh my God, man, like, that is absolutely wild. So then on November 2nd, 40 centimeters fell in 24 hours. This is what we saw, right? There we go. And everybody in Nelson who's a skier was like, oh yeah, let's go. What's going on out there, huh? You know, so we had that. Then we had dribs and drabs to the 7th. Then in November 7th to 9th, we had a short but powerful temperature inversion. November 11th to 14th, the powder taps turned back on. November 15th, we had a short break with a bunch of surface hoar formation and then some sun crust. November 17th to 27th, the powder taps turned back on and dropped 60 to 80 centimeters of snow. So that was it. That's where it was, the cold smoke, and those storms weren't actually even that windy. They were just pretty much just coming down, and we were getting the deep pow. And then November 27th until now, we've had a ridge of high pressure dominating everything, surface hoar growth, sun crust, and yeah, I see problems brewing, but those are future Judson's problems, not now Judson's problems, so I'm not worrying about it. So the layers we have, the top, we have the current snow surface, which is the crust, surface hoar, and facets that are out there right now. And then we have various storm snow and freezing rain and grauple layers that happened during that storm. There's a couple of freezing rain crusts sitting there. And then we have the November 15th surface hoar. And then there's a early November 11th melt freeze crust that's about 10 to 15 centimeters off of the ground. And so this crust is a little bit, the thing with these deep crusts is that they're very hard to trust, right? And over the years, I've been seeing more and more of these deep, weak, persistent crusts, and I never know what's going to happen with them. This one is not behaving badly out there. I'm not getting tests on it. That doesn't mean it's not going to become something, right? Like, that does not mean that right now. It's there. And because it's so close to the ground, the only place it could really be a problem is smooth, rocky, steep places, right? That's where that could be an issue that's going on. So coverage. Okay, so I took this photo on November 15th where there was 150 centimeters up at the top of Silver King Ridge, November 15th. It's settled a whole bunch then, but from Kootenay Pass to Whitewater to Roslyn, it's mostly uniform, and in Kokanee, it's pretty much the same everywhere out there. There's 110 to 120 at 1,500 meters. And that's what's kind of cool about it, is that down low, there's a whole bunch, there's just almost as much as up high. So it snowed a ton at like 12 to 1,500 meters during that last storm. And that's what's made it so good on those lower elevations as well. And so then 120 to 150 around 2,000 meters and possibly more above 2,000. And in general, the coverage is excellent out there. Like, comparatively, you know, to what we've been seeing, I'm really impressed with the coverage in most places. You still have to look out for stuff like this. Like, that is a bent over log. They are sticking up in places. It is not just go time. Like, it is not just turn it off. That happens at 200 centimeters, right? So we're like 75% of the way to the 200 where you can just start hammering stuff. And right now, we're not quite there. Right? yeah, so this was White Queen last year. This is what everybody looked like after skiing White Queen in 23, 24. And so I think I was making jokes about state of the alder, right? And like last year, the alder was up. And the one thing I'm seeing this year is a lot of the alder is down. And so it was pretty pronounced when I went into Kokanee. I literally couldn't believe it. There was no alder anywhere. I was just like, what? All of these slopes that over the last few years I've been battling alder, there was no alder. All the way down to like 1,300 meters. And I've skied Whales back 3 times this year already. And yeah, there's some alder, but it's not like what it was. And so one more good storm and Whitewater's alder is down. So we just got to hope we don't get a bunch of rain and it stands back up. But regardless, it's in a really good state out there. Yeah. So here's a profile that we dug. I've dug 4 profiles so far this year, and they're all relatively the same. What we're seeing is a generally well-settled snowpack. And so when you're looking for this and you look at this, what we want to see is we want to see it get progressively denser. So the further to the left, the more dense it is, and there's your POW on the top, and then progressively denser to the bottom, and a couple crusts. And then there's that crust that failed, and it failed under the crust with our test. So there it is, and there's a bit of a weaker interface underneath it. Most profiles are showing very similar results out there to that. I did a deep top test on that November 11th melt freeze crust, so that's when you go and remove all the snow, and I just tested that layer because it's so far down it's hard to test, and it did fail suddenly on it in facets underneath the crust, so just something to note there. No results of significance in any of my extended column tests. Haven't had any of that. Haven't read of any like pops or like full collapses across columns. I've got a bunch of snow professionals here. Has anybody had any like alarm bell tests so far? I'm hearing no. Yes. That is what we like, right? Yeah, so the next day we did a series of tests in the start zone of Whalesback and didn't get any significant results there. That's a good thing because Whalesback got shredded more than I've ever seen it been hit. It was wild. Yeah, it absolutely corresponded with the hill getting closed down. Most of the tests I've been doing are showing a pretty similar story out there, which is great. The November 15th surface hoard's down anywhere between 45 and 70 centimeters. I haven't found it a lot. I've seen it here and there. I know it's out there because I saw it when it's formed. Haven't been showing up in many of my tests out there. And well-settled snowpack with what I say, no major red flags, right? There's no major like, I'm not here delivering the terrible news about a deep layer right now. Okay, so notable avalanche events here. We got Whitewater, who reported their first incident of the year, which was on the 14th. That was the first one I read of. There was 2 of them, and those were on Goat Slide there, just size 2s. I know Whitewater did some bombing and got some results. Maybe Dave will talk a little bit about that, or yeah, anybody was there. Yeah. This was early, right? So like this was storming and they already had natural avalanches occur in that first storm there. And then the next one, I really wanted to highlight this one. First of all, I really like this report. So if anyone here did this report on the November 7th, the Weimar Bowl, I really, really like this report. Because it was kind of saying, below threshold question mark, because we use that word all the time. We say it's below threshold out there. There's not enough snow. That means there's not enough snow for avalanches. And the bulletin wasn't out yet, and everyone's like, oh, it's below threshold. And here's a photo of Weimar Peak or Bowl on November 7th, and there's avalanches everywhere. So there was multiple size 2s that came out of the bowl during that storm. And then I really like the write-up that we got here. The sharks are lurking and will bite you if you feed them. Stay clear of anything that looks like it might have teeth and keep it mellow. The alders are on the hunt to make new friends as well. Light-footed skiing, highly recommended. Overall, surprisingly decent turns considering the low snowpack depths. Temps were rising. And then, yeah, they said they were unlikely. They thought it would be unlikely to observe avalanche activity, but there it was. And so, yeah, I mean, even early season, November 7th, with 70, 80 centimeters of snow, size 2s. Yeah. So the ratings, look at that, green. What? Yeah, it's green. December 4th, low, low, low. Coming up to maybe some moderate on the weekend. What problems? See no problems. There is no problem identified in the bulletin. That is rare to see that. And then their terrain and travel advice. Snowpack's generally stable. May be appropriate to step out into more complex terrain. Make observations and continually assess as you travel. Use caution above cliffs, terrain traps, even where small avalanches have severe consequences. And then the weather summary. It looks like it's staying with this temperature inversion thing until Friday. Then it's breaking. And let's just hope that this holds here. They're talking about up to 15 centimeters on Saturday. So like I was reading, some bleak forecasts, and I saw this one, and I was like, this is the one we'll share. It says it's going to snow. Fuck yeah, I don't want to end with a sad face out here, right? It's going to snow. Yeah. All right, and their confidence is moderate. So when they're saying it's moderate due to stable weather pattern with little change, the uncertainty is due to the intensity of solar radiation's effect on the snowpack, and then probably the lack of data that they have going on out there. So I just wanted to thank everyone too for the mins. There's been so many mins put out there. There was tons. I was getting lots of information off of mins. Spent a good day reading them. There was no shortage of mins. I do have one tiny little gripe here, and I'm not, don't have to expose yourself if you did it, but somebody put a min basically right on the weather station, and then that meant that you couldn't actually, you had to zoom in super close to get the weather. And if you're like me and you repeatedly want to look at it to see if it's still dumping out, yeah, caused a little bit of extra time out there, but minor gripes. I got to have some to complain about up here, right? Does anyone have any information about any avalanches this year? We've had, through doing these in the past, we've actually got a bunch of info out of people who were just out there skiing, and we're like, actually, yeah. Nothing. People are just sending big lines everywhere. Snow's not moving. Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, gonna throw a little shameless self-promotion in here. I know Justin Trudeau decided to give everyone a GST relief, and he neglected to include backcountry skiers. So I'm like, he just included it on groceries, so boo, right? And so what we're doing here at Kootenay Backcountry Guides is we're gonna give everybody 10% off. Of all our courses right up until December 31st. That includes lodge-based AST2, all of our AST2s. I have 2 lodge-based AST2s at Mount Brennan. It's 5 days out with me and one other guide. And yeah, it's at one of the nicest lodges you'll go to. It's an amazing trip. You'll never have a cheaper course than that. And having it at 10% off makes it even cheaper. So yeah, I just want to see everybody out there. Have a safe, amazing winter, and let's go shred some POW. Just quick little takeaways, banger early season, don't take it for granted. Don't let the hype spoil a good thing, and remember, profiles are one small part of the puzzle. Look out for the next storm and have your heads up, because there's no shortage of surface horror out there presently. Have fun. And watch those underlying hazards on opening day at Whitewater. It's not just turn off your brain and send it right now, right? Yeah, all right. Have fun on opening day, everyone. Come say hey, I'll be over here. Happy to chat to anybody. Right on.
All right, everybody give it up one more time for Judson. Come on. That was beautiful. So key takeaways there. 23, 24, bad. 24, 25? remains to be seen. It's hard to say yet, but we are going to rip into a little bit of an intermission here, and then after that, Dave Michael is going to come talk to us about some whitewater things. During that intermission, everybody, the raffle ticket thing is going to be up here, so scan that QR code if you want to get some raffle tickets. And then as well, $20 or more donation gets you a free State of the Snowpack touring hat or toque, so hop into that. And just remember, we got some awesome raffle items up here. We're going to go over those again before we get them out. And then the big grand prize, so if you enter every single raffle, there's 2 grand prizes. One of them is a sweet Dreamline backpack from Northern Ultralight. The other is 2-night stay at White Grizzly. So you really want to get involved with the raffle. Make sure you go get some beers from the bar, and please be thankful to your wait staff and gracious to the Royal for having us out tonight. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
And I was like, well, I think we can, I don't think so. Like, I think we can manage that. I think it'll be pretty clear. I'm not, like, I got other worries that I'm worried about, and I still am worried about that, but I think we've got a good plan. And I think we executed a pretty good plan for keeping people out of the West Arm Park. Again, there's like a whole slew of people probably in this room that have been skiing 5 Mile in the West Arm Provincial Park for decades, right? Like a long time. Those are the people I'm not trying to keep out of that area. I'm trying to keep out my 5-year-old son who I get off the chairlift with and doesn't take a left hook and go into the park, right? Like that's what I'm trying to not do. I'm trying to get the people that are coming from Ontario that come here and don't know what a ski area boundary is and they follow some tracks back there, right? I want to make it very clear. And I think, honestly, with a good plan and a good snow safety team, I think we did a good job at that. We had some backcountry access points. We had a really good relationship with parks. And, you know, again, I'm probably jinxing myself, but we didn't have one rescue back there last year. So that's a win. And I'm hoping that continues, right? Like good education, we're still signing it, we're still roping it, we're doing everything we can, but the whole time last fall when people were asking me, I'm like, I'm not super concerned about that. I'm concerned about this. This is what I'm concerned about. I'm a little bit concerned about over here, but like by the time you get over here, you're way down here. But like now, like people can go right here. And that scared me for years and years and years. But we're like, you know what? We are gonna do the same thing that we did with West Arm. We're gonna call it this. We're gonna put like a hard line in the sand, right? Like this is the ski area boundary, and we're gonna make sure people know like you go out there and you're doing that on your own, like, and you make good decisions. And we did the same thing we did along the ridge. It just didn't work as well because people can just ski right back to the resort. Whereas people know they go on a 5 mile, they got a long way to go. So this is what I'm talking about. We're calling it goats. We're removing the slide. We're just calling it goats. Okay? So just to point out, you know, this is what we cut for sluice box. This is you know, our traditional sluice. This is where people, you know, have been skiing up until last year. And this has been a problem forever. Like really, this has been a problem. Why is it worse now? I'll talk about that in a bit, but this has been a problem. People have been coming out here, leaving the ski area boundary, and it's coming down here. You know, there was times where all of a sudden people would come over here, traverse across here, come across, this is called Memorial, come across Weimar, Maine, then they're slowly losing elevation, and then they would fight all the way over here, and they would traverse all the way around the Hummers, and they just end up back at sluice box. It was one solid traverse. It was awesome. So tonight I've made fun of a couple times if I'm going to bring the whiteboard up. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about, no, I'm not bringing the whiteboard up today. But before we get into this, it is very important that everybody understands signage around the resort and the difference between the signage and why it's important. So these are some of the signs you'll see around the resort, and this is our ski area boundary signage. We have some other signs too, but they're all like, this is the consistent one you'll see everywhere, and it clearly says like ski area boundary. There's no more patrol past here. There's no more control, and like Whitewater is responsible for like a certain perimeter. And we're responsible for everything that happens there. We manage that risk. We have a really good risk management program. We have a team, and we are responsible for that risk inside that area. But when you leave that area, we're not responsible for that. Like we're not responsible for what happens down at Walmart. Like at some point, what we're responsible for ends, right? And so we mark this area with these signs. So when you leave these signs, you're doing so at your own risk. There's no like repercussion from Whitewater. You're just leaving our ski area, and you're gonna if something happens out there, you're at the mercy of search and rescue. And I always do have the caveat that if you're out there and something happens, like, make sure you're prepared. Take an AST1, take a transceiver, shovel probe, all that good stuff. So within what Whitewater is responsible for, we have avalanche terrain. Like, it's everywhere. We manage that avalanche risk, and these areas we open and close based off of the hazard that elevates within these areas. So we have a team like specifically dedicated to this, and they monitor it and they make an assessment, and at a certain point the hazard becomes too high and they close the terrain down, and the signs look like this. And because it's within what Whitewater is responsible for, we do have stricter penalties for when you go in there. Whereas this, you go out there, we can't do anything about it. We can educate, doesn't go super far. But with this, we can actually close it down and keep people out of there with the intention of keeping people safe. And then, during a storm cycle, we'll fight it. We'll try really hard to fight that terrain. We'll bomb it. We'll ski cut it. We'll work it pretty hard until sometimes we got to close it down. But then we'll go back and the storm ends and we'll bomb it and we'll open it up. And when we open it up, we flip the signs up and it looks like this. And we've done an assessment on that area and we've deemed it safe for our guests to go into. So that's really, from my perspective, the safest approach you can take with avalanche terrain is mitigate the risk. So an example of Summit side, these are our closure lines on Summit, right? We got the catch line, we got upper powder keg, we got the joker line, and then we do close the trash traverse sometimes because of the overhead of trash. And then these are our ski area boundaries. So short side is outside the ski area boundary. And then obviously anything out on the other side of trash, like the Prospector and the Hummers, those are outside the ski area boundary too. So last year, like I said, we tried our best to mitigate this. We put like bamboo with rope, and then we doubled that rope line, and then there was even jokes about like tripling the rope. So it's like a triple rope line to try to keep people out of there. And it didn't work. And it kept me up at night because there's no demographic I could put on the people that were going out there, right? Like I stopped fathers and sons. I stopped 14-year-old girls. I stopped 60-year-old men. It was everybody that I stopped, and I can't control them, but I would educate them, and 98% of them were an avalanche professional, and they knew exactly what they were doing. So, like I said, we anticipated this. It wasn't like a surprise. And I just didn't think it was going to be, I think, and Judson even, I lost Judson somewhere because I wanted to make eye contact with him throughout this. Where are you? There you are. Now look at you. I had a beer with Judson before this all opened, and he was like, "What are you going to do?" I was like, "Don't even touch it, man. Just leave it. Don't even bomb it. Don't even think about it." I was like, it's kind of scary. And the first day that Raven opened, and it was an amazing day. If anyone remembers the first day Raven opened, man, that one's going to go down in the history books because it was epic. It was Bluebird. It was POW. It was sick. And so I spent my whole day over on Raven, and I was like, I should go over to Summit. And I rode Summit. I looked back, and I was like, oh, my God, it's begun. So everybody can now get off the Raven, and they generally don't want to climb up here. And now people could just traverse, and they could get right in the heart of goats, right? And they could traverse and get in Jan's Gully. They could traverse and get in Falls Signal. And whereas we used to be able, to traverse from the Silver King, and you'd end up down here, which is historically speaking outside of what a size 2 avalanche can hit. And so, working with the forecasting team, with management, with ownership, we decided that we're gonna bring goatside in goats. We're gonna bring goats. We're gonna bring goats in bounds. And so this is what we've come to. This is now a closure line, and then the ridge will have a closure line along the top. The top here, like Half Dome Cliffs zone, is going to be a permanent closure, and that doesn't matter anyways because it's like a 90-foot cliff. And then the far side here is going to be kind of a double closure line and a ski area boundary. So I'm going to do my best to explain that throughout the presentation, but why? So 2 things that I'm going to talk about before I go to my next slide is last year Judson's meme game was on point and I didn't have any memes. So I was like, I'm going to up my meme game, but then I watched his presentation just now and I was like, I still have work to do. And then this is, so I'm going to talk about 4 avalanches over the next like 10 minutes. 2 of them are fatality related. So this is heavy stuff and it may be triggering for folks. So if that is, this is kind of like the heads up. And it's all learning, right? And I'm going to talk like personally about an avalanche that I was involved in that I feel like I still have some triggers from as well, right? So this is a heads up. We're going to talk about some fatalities and we're going to talk about avalanches, and we do so respectfully, and it's not to like throw shame. So history of avalanche fatalities and apex drainage. This is apex drainage, right? Like Weimer Bowl comes down Apex Creek, funnels out to the bottom, like the highway there. And we all recreate in this area a lot, right? This is our playground. This is Whitewater. I'm sure everybody in this room has skied a ton of lines in the apex drainage. And I think, something Judson was saying that like sticks is like when you become comfortable with something, I think you can kind of take it for granted. Maybe, you've skied that line 100 times. It's always safe. There's all of these human factors that kind of like lead to poor decision making. And I myself am guilty of it. So some of us might not know this, but there's been 2 avalanche fatalities in the apex drainage. So the first one was April 23rd, 1972. And we'll go over that one. So, yeah, April 19th, here's the weather. So, well-consolidated snowpack with surface hoar. So then on the 21st of April, what looks like there was an epic dump of 40 centimeters, but it was April 23rd, so it's probably starting to get warm out, and the temperatures got up to 2 degrees, sky was clear, so solar effect, winds were gusting from the north, and then it was reported that the top 5 centimeters were wet. So at 0900 on April 23rd, a group of skiers left from Weimer Base in a helicopter and landed below the peak at 2070 meters. The group was instructed to stay to the east of the basin, so head towards Goat Side. Goat. I did. That's going to be a hard one to break. But one member of the party who had skied the area before decided to deviate and head to the west, and they went into what we now call Memorial because of this avalanche. So they moved to the west, they went to the gully, and it was a father-son. Son entered the gully, and his father followed behind him. Suddenly, the son noticed the snow moving under him, causing him to fall. His skis came off, and he snagged a tree, and it sounds like he arrested. And then the father, however, was carried past them and was nowhere to be seen. So the kid looked for his dad over the debris, son skied down, met with a helicopter, and a search ensued. They eventually found him buried 35 centimeters deep, and he suffocated. And it was about 90 minutes after the incident. 40 centimeters, so, you know, the avalanche, there was 40 centimeters of deep snowfall on a layer of surface hoar. High temps, like we know that time of year, things can change very quickly. The avalanche was 60 wide and it was 40 deep, and it ran for about 100 meters. So this was the avalanche here. So this is like, you know, the toe of Weimar. This is the popcorn. And so this is Memorial. And then we call this one Weimar, Maine. And so for reference, like Goats is over, like our boundary line essentially is going to come right through here now. Like that's where we're punching the boundary out. So I'm going to talk about my incident that happened to me. And again, remember, no judgment, please. But April 4th, 2020, COVID. And I was supposed to be staying home, and I didn't respect that, and I went ski touring with my buddies. And I don't know if like anyone here totally remembers, but like March and April were really good that year. It was really hard to stay home. Actually, this day was the day before Whitewater shut down their parking lots completely. And I remember being up there on this day, and like both lots were full. It was just everybody was out. So I was with a couple of my buddies. We'd been skiing 5 Mile all day. There, you know, was roughly probably about 40 centimeters of new snow in the last 48 hours. And 5 Mile is a north face, so we had skied like 2 or 3 laps of 5 Mile, and it was awesome. It was all time. And we came back around to the front side. So this was us at Half Dome, on the top of Half Dome. So we made our way back to the top of Half Dome, and then we scooted around to the call, and we descended through the call. And then we made it to these trees here, and we stopped and regrouped, and we acknowledged with each other. We're like, oh, it's like slabbing up. Like it's all of a sudden we went from like a north face all day to a south face, and it was about 3 o'clock, and it's April 4th, and the sun was out, and yeah, like it slabbed up, and we like legitimately acknowledged that it slabbed, looked at each other, and then just started skiing away. We didn't even talk about it. We were just like, yeah, slabby, eh? And then like, and like we're all trained avalanche professionals, and we're all forecasters, and there's human factors there that we could get into, but my line ended up being like center punch, the football fields, and then I came to here, and one of my stopped here, and then you know when you're leapfrogging, so the next group came and they both went down here, so they had taken the guts, so there was no more good skiing there. So I did a hard traverse, and I knew I got cliffed out here, but I knew there was a line that I could snake and ski out here. And as I traversed across above the cliffs, like the rug got pulled out from me, right? Like and it was like it was gone. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm in it. So I just pinned my skis and tried to ski out of it, and skied through these 2 trees, and then boom, I was gone. Like I was in it. Like I was like full on, like I was an avalanche, and lost my skis. And I ended up like probably on top, but here. So this was me trying to draw the avalanche this morning with my mouse. So this was the main slide. So crowns were about 40 centimeters. I ended up down here, and then it remoted this pocket. That pulled out, same thing. And yeah, it kind of went down here. So I was shook. I was really, really shook. We found my skis, but at the time I didn't think I was going to find my skis, but I went back there with Douglas last year. We were scoping out what to do with goats, and we came to the tree that I had flagged, and I was like telling Doug about the story, and sure enough, my flagging was still up in the tree. So this was February last year. So look how much more snow there was. On a side note, so you know, when I was putting together, we're going to talk about some avalanches to highlight why we're bringing goats and bounds. When I was reading the one about, you know, the fatality, it just was like that one was April 25th. It was 40 centimeters of snow, and then like mine was April 4th, and there was 40 centimeters of snow, and I made a bad choice. There was a bad choice made there too. Similar pocket, you know. I think I got really lucky there, and it was a really big wake-up call, and I think it made me a better avalanche forecaster because I think I was starting to gain too much confidence in my forecasting, and that really kicked my ass and was a real wake-up call. And not only that, like that was my last day skiing for the season. So I had to sit on this for months until I could get back at it. And when I came back the next year and I started forecasting, I was conservative. I took a step back, and I was very, very conservative in decision making around the resort. And I was also very, very, very cautious on decision making when I was ski touring. So moving to the next avalanche we're going to talk about in the apex drainage was on January 25th, 1986 on White Queen. So kind of the summary of this is a party of two had been skiing in the area for a couple days. They had skied in Roslyn, in the Roslyn range, and they deemed the area to be safe. And then they had spent a day at Whitewater skiing like backside, which was his glory train, deemed it to be safe. And then on the 25th, they left from Whitewater, and they went and they decided to ski White Queen. So the first descent, they went down the main face, which narrows halfway. Before the narrow section, they cut out a small slab. So I don't know if like I'll can go back to the picture, but you know, you got your big open faces, then it narrows up at White Queen. So right where they narrowed up, there is a bit of like a convexity, and they cut out a slab. So they went for a second lap, and they were concerned about hazard on their next lap. So they chose the other like lookers left, skiers right path. The rationale it says here was that the sun had been out, and I'll talk about weather in a minute. I probably should have put weather first, but I didn't. So they try to pick a slightly different aspect. So they departed, they skied down, they skied over a convex roll, and then the member went out of sight. His friend called out, didn't receive a reply. When he got closer to the edge of the open slope, he saw the avalanche, but at the time he didn't see or hear it. There was cracking all around him, so he went into the trees, made his way out, did a transceiver search, found the member, marked him, and then made his way out to the road. So this was that avalanche. So that's this is White Queen. So their first descent was over here. Second descent, they took this path, and then this is where there was the body, but it went far. Like our Nordic trails are down here. So this is a big, long avalanche. Looks like it funneled through the choke. They called it a class 3, which I think is a size 3. It ran 580 meters. So some weather on that one. There was a big storm about a week before, and during that storm, there was about 40 to 50 centimeters of snowfall. The avalanche hazard was extreme, and there were strong winds. And then it sounds like things settled off a little bit, but it sounds from this, it's from the 19th to 25th when the incident happened, there was another 19 to 25, another 23 centimeters of accumulated snowfall. So what caused that snowpack avalanche was large facets over top of, denser snow. And the fracture line also showed that it was on top of a crust with some surface hoar. So an obvious instability in the snowpack with a lot of snow on top. So that is heavy stuff. And I'm talking about things that like affected me. But then I had to throw a meme in to try to lighten the mood like a little bit. But, okay, Dave, why are you talking about 2 avalanche fatalities, an avalanche that happened to you? I think it's to show that like we recreate in like a pretty dangerous place, and we need to respect that. And that's what we were doing when we were making the decision to bring Goat Slide in bounds. And so I'm going to talk about an avalanche that then happened last year, about I want to say it was like 2 weeks into us opening the Raven Chair. So there was a skier accidental on January 6, 2024. So this is a picture of the avalanche. So the party of 3 came back from, and this group was well equipped. This wasn't the user group that was just traversing out there. This was a trained group that had done had ASTs. They were equipped for backcountry rescue. Like they were actually they were very prepared. And they just got caught, right? I got caught. It happens. We try to let it not happen, but it happens. So this day was our first like real good storm that we had all season, and I had got a report at the base that there was a skier accident in Cougar's Claw. So I went over and grabbed Dougie, and I think Jake Mentz was with us as well, and we loaded up Raven. We're like, well, let's go check it out. It was about 3 o'clock. So we went up, we skied around, we went and we were like looking at this avalanche. And we're like, yep, that's an avalanche. And the clouds lifted a little bit, and then we like kind of looked up and we're looking at goats, and I'm like, is that a fracture line? Like, Doug's like, yeah, it looks like there's a fresh avalanche in goats. And we're like, okay, that kind of sucks. And then the radio goes off, and there's like, hey, it sounds like there's a skier accident on Goat Slide. So we're like, okay. So we immobilized and went and helped them out. So yeah, on January 6th, about 3:30, Whitewater Ski Patrol was notified of an avalanche incident adjacent to the ski area boundary in an area known as Goats. Ski Patrol responded to the incident and activated search and rescue. A party of 3 backcountry skiers were returning from 5 Mile when the first skier triggered an avalanche, went for a ride through the steep trees and cliffs, sustained serious injuries, but was not buried in the avalanche. Due to the proximity, Whitewater was able to help out, and we did a transceiver search and a reco search to clear the area as well. What caused anxiety on this one, maybe I'll get to the anxiety on it in a second, but other than the fact that somebody was hurt from an avalanche, was like knowing how many people were going out there without avalanche equipment. So being like, are there kids buried out there? Are there, like, who else has been affected by this? Because somebody just triggered an avalanche above a traverse that we're seeing hundreds of people go out with 0 avalanche equipment. And so, yeah, of note, that area is easily accessible by the Raven Chair with a traverse from the ski area boundary to the Goats terrain. The debris from the avalanche ran approximately 130 meters past this traverse, with the bulk of the debris below. So I think this incident, we got lucky that there wasn't people traversing out there. So this is us drawing up the avalanche here. So triggered here, ended up here. This is the common traverse line that people had been taking. So right through the avalanche. So that sucked, but I think it was a really good learning opportunity, I think, for the entire community, and it was good learning opportunity for us as a team. And we successfully rescued the subject, and they recovered. But this not only did we already think this was going to be a wake-up call, this was a real wake-up call, right? And then I think we got lucky in a lot of ways last year with the low snow because the hazard never really got too high. We got lucky with pretty steady, moderate hazard, jumping it considerable a bit because the snow sucked. And there wasn't much of a hazard, but then we got rocked. Like, and when I say we got rocked, like we got smoked by a storm in early March. I feel like I've been working at Whitewater for a while now, and this one kicked our ass a little bit. But I just wanted to point this out. These were 3 avalanches that occurred, either natural or explosive triggered avalanches last year in that March cycle. And, you know, they all funnel right here to the bottom. And we're having a significant amount of people just leave our ski area boundary and ski right to the bottom here, hang out, like just hanging out. And I like busted, like I didn't bust, like I'm not busting them, but like I watched like a group of like 16-year-olds, 100% smoke some weed right here, and then come out here, and then I busted them completely blitzed, and had like the most hilarious conversation with them that I don't know if they fully understood. But this was a really tricky one for me as an operations manager and somebody who ultimately feels that they have to keep people safe. Because there was a day when we were bombing and we're getting, you know, I don't want to say like more or less historical avalanches. I don't like to throw that term around, but they're pretty big avalanches, and like you're hearing this on the radio and you're like, oh man, these things are going big. And then the whole time in my head I'm like, oh boy, what is lurking over here? But the Raven chair, it was so windy. The Raven chair was completely rimed up, and we actually were having such strong gusts that the Raven chair, we weren't even operating that chair because of the wind gust up until about noon. But I rode the chairlift with like a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Kirk Jensen, and we're riding Raven, and it's our first ride of the day, and like I'm like sick. I'm like, Kirk, if we open this chair today, like someone's gonna die. Like we can't, like. And he's like, yeah, man. And so we got to the top and we talked to the lift mechanic, and he's like, yeah, you know, we're just on the cusp of opening the chair. Like it's there. Like we can do it if you really want, but we're right on the cusp. And I was like, no, we're done. We're not opening this chair today. Chair's done. We're gonna heli bomb it tomorrow. We'll open the chair after that. So this is Dougie was like obsessed with going and figuring out how long the return cycle was on this avalanche here. This it's this one, right, Dougie? This yellow one. So this one was a biggie. This was like our first sign on this cycle. Like we were like the cycle had just started, and we're like about to bomb, and it's just like whammy. There's this like massive avalanche, debris, timber everywhere. So Dougie went out this summer, cut some rounds, and counted every single ring on this, and it was a 124-year cycle. Doug, yes, no? 140. 140-year cycle. So those were the things we were battling with goats last year. So are you not entertained, Judson? Hey? It was friggin' exciting. It was spicy. So, long story short, bringing it in balance. So what does that mean? There's been some changes. So we've got a new closure line. This was where our boundary line was last year. This is now going to be a closure line with those discs that open and close. And when the hazard is deemed to be safe, we'll open that up, and then the father and son can go out there and ski it and enjoy it safely. Then the 16-year-olds that want to go and hang out there and do whatever they want to do, can do so. And we know that we have mitigated that risk through explosive control, through a hazard assessment. Along the ridge here is going to be a closure line. I'm calling it a closure line, but I got called out the other day that it's like, we're not just closing it, right? Like we're opening it. So I want to make that clear too. Like we're not closing it, we're opening it. But there is going to be that line across the ridge. And then on this far side here, there will be a closure line as well. We're splitting goats into two sections, so there's going to be upper goats and lower goats. And why would you open lower goats if you didn't feel comfortable with upper goats? Well, we know from historical data, and I mentioned it before, that size 2 avalanches terminate above this typical traverse. So there will be days maybe that we're going in there and we don't feel comfortable with certain pockets. I say we. I should clarify the forecasting team that I work with. We'll go up there and maybe they don't feel comfortable with something, but they're like, if it does avalanche, we know it doesn't have the potential to hit lower goats. So we can open this, feel comfortable, loop back around, deal with this another day. Crux along the ridge here, I've been getting like questions like, are we closing down the ridge? The ridge is going to be same as last year. Like if you want to leave the ski area boundary, that ridge is pretty wide. You can leave the ski area boundary when goats is closed, and you can still go on your ski tour. And the only time that the ridge will be completely closed is when we're doing explosive control. And so we're talking, you know, for a couple hours on the mornings of that we're doing explosive control. So not a long time. The boot pack here, you can leave up the boot pack, and when you are doing so, you know that there is no more inbound skiing when you leave that boot pack. And then coming to the far side on the Scobs line. So if you're coming and skiing goats from the resort side and you decide to just do your old traverse, eventually you'll hit a line that has ski area boundary signage on it. And this like hump here is called Scobs Knob. It's pretty hard to come across here and get like above this. You kind of have to work at it. So I think like probably 90% of people are going to come take this low traverse, come out and ski stuff in here. And then for this user group, probably more than anything, is this is going to be coming back into goats. If you leave in the morning, you should check out the avalanche information board at the base and see if goats is open or closed. And if it's not open, you should read what the forecasters put out and see like, oh, okay, they might close it midday. And so if you're going to go and ski 5 mile and come back around and hit Half Dome and then come back around, you might hit a closure line. And that's new. That's going to be new for a lot of people in this room. And so try to plan your route accordingly. And then also this rope line has been strategically placed. So if you do hit this, you can ski along this and still ski out to the bottom of these trees and then make your way out through the creek. Does anybody have any questions? I've been doing a lot of talking. Oh, Kat's giving me like the hurry up sign. Okay. So I'm going too long. So it changes. I talked about it, upper and goats. There's going to be a new boundary line on the far side, permanent closure. We've built some roads, so there's going to be a road in the bowl now to catch people coming out. This is actually the snow road goes to these trees now. So when you ski them out, you don't need to go to the creek. You can hit this road and ski out to Sluice Box. There's a middle road too. That's your goats, your lower goat skiway, and then we've put a road along the ridge as well. Hopefully in the future we can keep on pushing that road up the ridge further and further, and I think that'll just give people the ability to ski that area better. Douglas put a lot of work with his team this summer on building an explosives tram. So that's something different that you'll see this year is a massive cable that's going across goats. It kind of starts from what he calls Middle Rock and it ends over in Jan's Gully. It's about 250 meters long. And so that's what it looks like in the fall. This big cable, and then essentially we can dangle bombs off of this, and then we can send that tram out and blow stuff up. Douglas and the crew tested it last week, and it was really effective. So that was an exciting moment. There'll be increased helicopter avalanche control. I think historically we've done like 1, maybe 2 missions a year. I think, depending on the season, that's going to increase significantly. And that's because we're not only, we're worried about this, but big avalanches can still affect, sluice box. So we're going to be managing that overhead hazard to a certain degree. And this is one of my favorite quotes by Doug. You may see our snow safety team working with explosives outside the ski area boundary, such as in Weimer Bowl. This work is not to make it safe for the public, but to reduce the likelihood of large destructive avalanches. I hear it every year, oh, you were bombing in the bowl, it's safe. It's not safe. We're doing that to protect the inbound skiing. We're not doing it to make it safe for everybody. Backcountry access points are going to remain the same with the exception of the exit at the boot pack. Please use these. Park sets up trail counters there. There's enough room on the other side of the ridge so you can leave those gates and then you can travel and drop in wherever you want. It's not like you have to leave the gate and then drop right there. You can leave the gate and then go to your drop-in point. Just don't, we're trying to get away from people just ducking the rope and then dropping where they want to go. Just leave the gate. Parks can get their data and then you can go and hit your line. Expect to see some larger closure times in the goats terrain than people are used to in catch. It's new. We've dialed upper PK and catch in, but goats is new. So be patient with us on those storm cycles if it does take us an extra day to get it open. I think confidence in that will gain with the crew as we work it more and more. I do imagine poachers will be a big issue as people are used to it being a boundary and not a closure. I'll make this one quick. You'll also notice over in Ketch Basin, we've built a tram over there, starting at Billy's and going to the Fritter. So this is can be a difficult area to manage here, these fans. We get a lot of snow that sloughs. So this is Ketch Basin, in case I didn't make that clear. But snow will slough off of here and into these fans. And it can be really hard to dangle explosives in here and lob them off this big cliff. So trying out a tram in here too, and I think it's going to be pretty successful. Here's some of the build on that. And this is just to highlight, Ketch Basin, we're pretty used to it, but in the last 10 years, we've had a couple serious incidents in there as a snow safety team. 10-ish years ago, Jay Wishlow down here, that was from what we call the fritter zone over here. And then it's really hard to tell here, but this was during that March Madness, a real close near miss where we had a team going out to assess after a pretty huge avalanche control mission in there where we'd thrown a lot of bombs and there was tension released in the slope and there was some cracking around, and as the patroller was moving across, the thing fractured out, and how the crowns were 2 meters? 2 meters? Yeah, so another near miss. So that tram we put in, trying to use some bigger bombs and keep that zone safe too, because can't forget about that. And that's just to highlight the area where those were. So Kath, I'm wrapping it up now. My last little plug, be educated, be prepared, right? Whenever we go into the backcountry, let's make sure that we're trained, we're reading the forecast. I think what State of the Snowpack has done here is incredible. I think the turnout is a testament to that. And it's a culture, and I think the culture is getting better with sharing stories and learning from each other, and just, again, we're just trying to keep each other safe. And Judson did like a shameless plug for his AST, so I'll do a shameless plug for Whitewater still booking AST. So if you're looking for an AST, just joking, Judge, just joking, bud. I feel like I think there might be a discount in there somewhere. But anyways, thanks for hearing me ramble. Opening day's in a couple days, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out there. Thanks.
All right, everybody, one more time for Dave Michael. Come on. Before we dive into the big raffle and everything, and if you're trying to buy raffle tickets, it's done, so it's raffle time. I just want to say, after this, Jack's band, Three Bird Stone, they're going to be playing an epic jazz set, and it's going to be really good, so stick around, and that's super important. Beyond that, the goal of State of the Snowpack is to create a community around passion for snow and traveling in the backcountry. And I think what Dave just shared with us is super important, and we got to give a lot of respect for him for opening up about serious avalanche involvements and incidents. And it's really important that we maintain a culture of respect and no judgment with sharing that information, because sharing information is super important in this community, and it goes a long way to keep us all safe. And that's what we're going to move into next is, should I post them in? MINs are super valuable. The Mountain Information Network is a huge deal, and it really helps the Avalanche Canada forecasters make an appropriate forecast. Now, a lot of people ask, what should I post about? What matters? Is it relevant? Try to keep it concise, but anytime that you go out in the field, it's super valuable to see what you saw. Even if you just saw a blow or pow, that helps us know that there's no slab properties in the upper snowpack. There's lots of really good information to be garnered, and if all of you are going out into the backcountry relatively often, that is way more data points than we already have. So those MINs are super valuable. They mean a lot, and they go a long way. So if you're interested in posting those sort of things, check it out on the Avalanche Canada website. There's lots of guidance onto what to do, but that's a huge part of this community. Thanks, everybody, for coming out and joining in the State of the Snowpack community. Give it up. It's a huge deal. And then finally, there was a little bit of jargon in some of those avalanche incidents, and there was also lots of good weather information, and a lot of it painted a really clear picture. And if you were watching those case studies and you didn't really understand what was going on, or it didn't make you think, oh wow, that's pretty serious, you should think about taking a course. And courses are super valuable. I think there's lots to be learned from all of the courses that are offered here. We have lots of great providers in this community: Summit Mountain Guides, Kootenay Backcountry Guides, Whitewater Ski Resort. And traveling in the backcountry is a lifelong learning process. So if you just keep on pursuing knowledge and do your best to be educated, you're going to be an important part of our backcountry community, and that means a lot to everybody in this room. So please pursue that knowledge. It's super valuable. It means a lot. And I think it's time to dive into the raffle. So we got a lot of good prizes. Cal's going to fire some away. The first thing I'm going to raffle off here is this pair of Swaney gloves. And this is from Snowpack Outdoor. And these are some really awesome ski gloves. All right, let's get a drum roll, everybody. Give me a drum roll, come on. Give me a name, Cal. Orsolia Benkoksky. No? Not here? Let me try again. Okay, here we go. Ben Ravito? Ben Ravito, is there a Ben Ravito out there? Yeah, give it up for Ben. Ben's hands are staying warm out there, courtesy of Snowpack. Got some gloves and a State of the Snowpack sticker. All right, what do you want to do next? All right, That's 2 times, right? Okay, next up, we've got the Northern Ultralight fanny pack here. This thing is awesome. It's called the Hippie. It's a $76 value. These things are pretty rad. They're made locally in town. And this was going to Danielle Robin. Danielle Robin. Hey, there you go. Congratulations. All right, what do we got next? Okay, up next, we got 1 ticket to Whitewater. This is an adult lift pass. And this is going out to Denise Morris. Denise Morris. 1 Whitewater lift ticket. Beep, 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 beep. And 1 more Whitewater lift ticket. Be our guest, it says. It's going to be a good season up there. Pretty exciting. This one's going to Brett Chandro. Brett Chandro. No dice. No Brett? Okay, next. We're nexting. What do we got? Brett Chandro again. Big balla. So many raffle tickets. Holy cow. Don't tell me. Dylan Dooley. Dylan Dooley. No dice. Oh, there we go. Yep, we got the man. Here we go. Congratulations, Dylan. Up next, we got some footbeds donated by Jerix. These are custom moldable Sidus footbeds. Keep your feet comfy out there. It's kind of a big deal. $200 value here. These things are super serial. You're going to want to go get them custom molded, which is... Hey, Ben Davies! Where is he? Where is he? Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Wah, wah. That's not how it works. Come on. He left. He probably needs some new footbeds, too, after stomping out a 5 mile with no binding last year. Rough go. Laura Volden. Laura Volden for the footbeds. Yee-hoo! And then what else do we got? We're giving away the... Congratulations. What? Okay. All right, and then we're on to our final giveaway here. And it's one of the State of the Snowpack toques. Super cozy, locally made. And the winner is Clifford Howard. Clifford, where are you? Yee-hoo! All right. All right, everybody, thank you so much. That was a lovely evening. Really appreciate you coming out to support State of the Snowpack. And stay safe out there and keep posting those mins. It's a big deal.